Hello and welcome back to the Azure Terraformer. Today we're going to continue mission with the GitHub AT-AT. Last time I showed you a little bit about the GitHub AT-AT's anatomy, how I structured the module or modules, and how it pretty much worked. This time, before we get into the new OpenID Connect features, I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a demo of the client secret version just to refresh our memory of what the GitHub AT-AT can actually do. So if you're enjoying this content, please smash that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a lot. And when you do, don't forget to ring that bell. Gotta say that stuff, right? But if you really want to help out, consider announcing yourself to the world as an official Azure Terraformer by joining the channel. You'll get a shout out in one of my upcoming videos, and there's private members only chat on the Azure Terraformer Discord server, as well as members only meetups on a semi-regular basis. Anyways, without further ado, let's drop into the code and get this thing cooking. So let me show you the example and how this is all going to work. So the example that we're going to be using is the service principal secret. So let me drop over into the application environment and the service principal secret, and let's go look at the input variables there. So here I've got input variables for the GitHub org, the GitHub repo, the commit user object, the application name, a collection of environments. And you'll notice that the collection of environments is just a map. It's not that crazy complex object anymore. That's because the example object is actually going to go provision the service principal that we need, and the storage accounts and all that we need for each environment. So all we have to do is pass in a collection of environments. And the key is going to be the environment name, which is going to be a short string that we want to represent that environment, like lowercase dev, lowercase prod, etc. And then the value is going to be the subscription ID, because we need to know where to create the storage account that we're going to use for Terraform state, and then B, when we create the Entra ID service principal, we need to know what subscription we need to grant that service principal access to. So those are kind of important things. The application name and the commit user, these are all and I guess GitHub repo and GitHub org, these are all related to like where we want this repo to be created. So that's all pretty basic. So in order to set this up, I need to be able to run Terraform apply in this directory. Okay, now I'm going to create a little shell script that's common when I want to run locally. And the first thing that I need to do is I need to export an environment variable called GitHub Token. Now, the way I get this is I have to go set up a PAT token out in GitHub. So let's go do that. Go under settings, go under personal access tokens, then fine-grained tokens, and just click generate a new token. Okay, we'll call this GitHub AT-AT demo. And I'm going to delete it afterwards. Now, public repositories read only. That's not what you want. You need to either use only selected repositories or all repositories, because we actually need to be able to write to this GitHub repo. So read only, it's not going to fly. So we're just going to set it up for all. Actually, we have to set it up for all repositories. That's not an option because we're going to create a new repository. So if we go here, I haven't fully, done least privileges analysis on this, but just using the Bozo filter, like, yeah, I'm going to be setting up actions. I'm going to be creating repositories. Not sure about attestations. Don't think I'm doing code spaces yet. Probably going to be updating commit statuses. Definitely going to be updating contents. Probably going to be updating custom properties. I don't know if we're going to be doing deployments. Definitely creating environments. Probably not hitting issues. Potentially, that doesn't matter anyway. Security advisories, I don't think so. Secrets, we're definitely going to be touching that. Variables, yes. And workflows. So let's add that. Okay. So let's generate that token. Let's copy pasta. And let's go back here and put that in. And then we're just going to add a Terraform init phase and then a Terraform $* with a var file pointed at debug.tfrs, because I don't want this to get checked in. You can see I've already set up my gitignore to ignore.debug.sh, so we should be good to go there. I do need to add a debug.tfrs. So we'll start piecing that together here. So if I grab this and I put this on the side, I can kind of see what I've got to go put into this file. I need a GitHub org, which is just going to be, my username. I'm going to say the GitHub repo. I need to give it a name, so I'm just going to call this the AT-AT demo. It just has to be unique within my GitHub organization. Commit user, email. I'll just do that. And then name. This is actually used because it's the value that you need for giving credit to commit history, right? So whatever you put in here, you want that to be set up so that it's tied to your GitHub account. So whatever you set up as whenever you do git configure, you want to use whatever's tied to that account. Please don't email me. Okay. Next, we need to have the application name, and I'm just going to call it the AT-AT. We'll just call it AT-AT. And then we'll set up our environments. Now, environments, we're going to have a dev, and then we're going to have a value, and then we're going to have, let's just say prod and a value. Now, the value has to actually be our subscription. So I need to go to Azure. There we go. So those are my subscriptions. So now I probably just need to log in so that it knows who I am. So now I think I need to change mod to make this thing executable. And let's try and run it. See what happens. So as you can see, I'm about to create 51 items and putting in some files, taking credit for the commits. You can see the contents of the files that we're going to drop. Let me just say yes, and let's get this thing off to the races. So you can see I'm actually creating my storage accounts right here. Okay, it completed. Let's go inspect what it's done. For starters, we'll go look at what we have in the Azure portal. I did notice that this is the random string that was generated. So RG Terraform that, and we have our storage account here. So now inside of our storage account, again, this is our Terraform state backend that the GitHub ATA set up on our behalf for the dev account, for the dev environment. So we have it's been deployed to the development subscription. So if we go look at our containers, we'll see that we have a TF state container here, and we're pretty much ready to go. Now let's go look at what we have in GitHub. So I'll go back to my profile. And I'll go look at my repositories. And there we go. I got my AT-AT demo. Now, what has been set up here? Well, you can see I have my source code base. This is what the code base module is provisioning. We saw these files within the GitHub AT-AT repo. And we can see that we're just going to provision a resource group following this naming convention. The application name, the environment name, and then this random string. All that stuff's the same. We can see that my pipelines are there and that they are the manual trigger ones. So we're going to do a workflow dispatch. If we go to my settings and I go look at the, I guess there might be some of these. Yeah. So I've got the client secret for dev and prod. And then I have a bunch of dev and prod stuff set up, right? I do have a top level repository variable that's different than an environment variable. That means that this doesn't change across the environments, which the application name, that's what it's for. Like it's supposed to be the same across all your environments. The environments, they're going to be targeting a different subscription. They're going to be using a different authentication. They're going to be using a different backend state. So they're all going to be different. It turns out I did include the Terraform version in that environment. So if we wanted to upgrade the Terraform version independently, like for that particular long-lived environment, we could do that there. So yeah, that's what we got. Now let's go look at our actions. So we have Terraform plan destroyed. Now these are manually triggered, and I did this kind of on purpose because the GitHub AT, like as I've been developing the GitHub AT-AT, I haven't yet implemented more robust or more canonical Git flow processes. So I left the manual trigger in there so that you had kind of a working example and you could go customize it to whatever your Git flow process is. But you can see here, the manual dispatch is also a convenient way to test. So I can go in there and I can test both these environments. I'm just going to run a plan in dev and see if that works. And we're going to create that random string and that resource group in WestUS3. That's pretty much what we saw in our code. So if I go back and I run Terraform apply, we're going to do an apply in dev. We're going to see that happen. While we're waiting on that, I'm going to run in production. I'm going to run the plan in production. And there we go. It looks like it's all been created. Let's go check it out. Actually, let's double check what the resource group is. It uses a different random string. So the Terraform state backend that this dev environment is using a totally different random string. So we can't use that anymore. That could get a little bit confusing, but of course you can change all this. Like you can, if you want to have your backend state to, have a different name, go right ahead. And so there you go. Like not a lot to see here, but we have our resource group that we're ready to put stuff into, and it follows my standard naming conventions, using the type-based prefixes to kind of keep things, organized. And then we have the application name, the environment name, and then a random string, which is not technically required because resource groups don't have to be globally unique. They just have to be unique within a subscription, but I threw it in there just if I was going to be using this a lot, I didn't want to have to come up with lots of different names. So let's go look at prod. And I'm expecting prod is going to be okay as well. Okay, so the prod for plan is fine. Let me run apply in the prod environment. So you can see how the multi-subscription model works. So while I'm waiting for the apply in prod, let's go back and look at our resource groups. Actually, let's go look at our subscriptions. I want to go look at like the development environment. So you can see, because I want to see who has access to this. So under role assignments, you'll be able to see the service principal that I've granted access to this. And well, actually don't know which one it is. I'd probably have to go look at it. It looks like production is completed. Let me just go back and look into the history here to see where we created the Entra ID application. So the dev Azure AD application is going to be alpha 75 alpha. Oh, actually, like a great way to tell this is, just looking at the application, the client ID. Yeah. So that it's 9 alpha 5 Bravo. So if we go look at 9 alpha 5 Bravo, yeah, this is it, 9 alpha 5 Bravo. So Oscar 51 Tango. That's our that's the service principal that we're using for the dev environment. So there you go. So let's go look at our production deployment now. And we should be able to pretty easily, like if I filter, let's just look at production. And let's go look at where we created the production environment so we can see the random string that was used. It's going to be QPapa6. QPapa6, there we go. So that's it. So yeah, so we basically like provision these environments. We have fully working, we have a totally new repo called AT-AT demo. And we have configured it to target, development subscription and a production subscription. It has automated the service principals. So if you go look at the example, you can see under identity, we're using one of my Azure AD, excuse me, my Entra ID modules to set up, the service principal with the client secret and all that. And then we're creating a contributor role assignment for that. Likewise, we are setting up an Azure backend for each environment. So that is kind of hard coded in the example, but examples are kind of like that. But I'm using a Terraform backend module to just provision the Terraform, to provision the Azure storage account, and I'm targeting the subscription with the correct provider block. So you can see I've initialized the provider block using the environment's input variable, keying off of the environment name, dev or prod, and then obtaining the subscription ID, and then provisioning a backend to each of those subscriptions. So this example is actually targeting 2 Azure subscriptions. It's a provision Terraform backend state in both of them. So again, whoever executes this example is going to need access to both of those subscriptions in Azure and Entra ID in order to create applications, service principals, and client secrets, as well as GitHub using the GitHub AT-AT token. Now, I just happen to have all those permissions. So if you're going to try out the GitHub AT-AT in this manner, you're probably going to need the same permissions. So just a heads up there. But as you can see, it absolutely very rapidly sets up a standard template for setting up an Azure Terraform CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Actions. It's pretty slick. I will be continuing developing this module on my channel, mainly for selfish purposes, because I want to use this thing. It makes my life easier when I want to set up different labs and test out different things, test out different services. So this is going to actually help me produce more content for you guys, because I'm going to be able to spit out new lab environments and run it and test out Cosmos DB, test out AKS, and all those things. So I also am planning on using this to speed the development of module libraries. So I am going to be adding a module library repository that, unlike the application environment repository, is designed for modules, Terraform modules. So that's going to have different things in it. It's probably still going to have some motion that's going to run Terraform test, right, and provision the environment. So I'm probably going to need Azure credential access and stuff like that to be set up for a module library so that we can run Terraform test, on the pull request process to verify everything's working. But we're going to have things like Terraform docs in there. We're going to have things like Terraform test as a baseline so that you can, rapidly spin up a new Terraform module project on GitHub. So let me know what you think. The next episode, I'll show you how I modified this to work with the OpenID Connect, which wasn't a lot of work. But things have been busy. Okay. Things have been a little busy. So I hope you enjoy that. I know I get beat up a lot by my buddy Matt White about, don't use secrets, don't use client secrets, so I'm on the bus, we're there are no breaks. Like we're going to this OpenIDC Connect world. We're going to managed identity, and we are no longer going to be using client secrets in my Terraform GitHub actions and all the things. So pretty exciting. I left in the client secret mode just as kind of legacy, like if people want to use that as an option, because I don't think it hurts it still being there as an option. You can choose not to use it, which you probably should once I show you guys how to use the OpenIDC Connect version. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and will join me next time when I spelunk the OpenID Connect version and show you how to drop the secret and automate the automation with Terraform using GitHub. Until next time, this is the Azure Terraformer signing off.